Engines roar, lights blur, one wrong turn, and everything shatters. Screeching tires, flying glass, pure chaos. Every frame is real, every second electric. Hold on tight and buckle up. Inside a repair shop, a luxury car is lifted for maintenance. But when the supports fail, the vehicle plunges to the ground, suffering heavy damage in seconds. A Formula One driver speeds into the corner, pushing the limits of control. Suddenly, the car spins out, crashes, and bursts into flames as marshals race toward the scene. The car skids uncontrollably on the icy road, its tires scraping for grip. A second later, it crashes into an oncoming vehicle, a split-second slip turning into disaster. At the intersection, two cars try to cross at once. In a blink, their paths collide, sending shockwaves through the crossing. The car slides helplessly across the icy surface, tires spinning without control. Moments later, it drifts off the road and comes to rest in the snowy ditch. The driver lost control and crashed into a building, which immediately collapsed onto the car, burying it under the rubble. Two heavy trucks collide with a thunderous impact. Moments later, one of them bursts into flames, sending thick smoke into the sky. A car speeds toward an intersection as another begins to turn. With the road coated in ice, the driver has no chance to stop, and the collision is sudden and severe. The rocket ignites and begins its ascent, hope rising with it. But within seconds, a deafening explosion shatters the launch site, marking a catastrophic failure. The video shows a deceptively gentle curve that seems harmless at first glance. One car crashes into the guardrail, another suffers a blown tire, and a third meets the same fate, as if the turn itself is cursed. A car stalls right on the train tracks, its driver frozen in panic. Just in time, another motorist rushes in with a tow rope, pulling the vehicle to safety seconds before disaster. A car pulls onto the icy road, unaware of the danger. Another vehicle slides helplessly toward it, unable to stop before the inevitable crash. The bridge stands firm above the flowing river, a picture of stability. Then, with a sudden rumble, its structure gives way and collapses into the water below. At a crowded intersection, the bus struggles to stop on time. In a heartbeat, it collides with a small car ahead, the impact echoing through the crossing. An ambulance rushes through a red light, sirens blaring. But a speeding car crosses the same intersection, colliding with it and flipping the ambulance onto its side. A sudden turn goes terribly wrong as an SUV mounts another car. In seconds, the smaller vehicle is crushed beneath its weight. Two cars race toward each other on a snowy road, visibility fading in the winter haze. A moment later, they collide head-on, the force of impact scattering debris across the frozen ground. The truck driver lost control and crashed into a car, a stark reminder to stay cautious on the road. Two cars enter the intersection at the same time. Neither driver yields, and their sudden collision sends debris flying across the road. Losing control, a Kamaz truck barrels forward uncontrollably. It plows into the cars ahead, triggering a massive and terrifying chain reaction crash. A fleeing driver speeds through the chase, desperate to escape. But a sharp turn sends the car skidding out of control, crashing into the bridge's support beams with devastating force. A small car clips the side of an SUV while changing lanes. The impact sends the larger vehicle rolling over in a violent spin. A car is towed away after being parked illegally, lifted by a metal beam. But as the tow truck climbs a slope, the beam snaps and the car rolls backward, crashing hard onto the pavement. While turning the corner, the driver fails to notice a low barrier ahead. The car hits it head-on, the sudden impact breaking the calm of the street. The boat drifts peacefully across the water, its passengers relaxed and unaware. Suddenly, flames erupt on deck, and the crew scrambles desperately to put out the fire.
Meu Deus!
On a rural road, a buffalo charges after a fleeing man. Cornered, it rears up on two legs and slams against a nearby car in a burst of raw force. A Kamaz truck loaded with concrete beams struggles to stay steady on icy roads. As it skids out of control, the heavy beams spill onto the opposite lane, heading straight toward oncoming cars. A truck slammed into a bus at high speed, startling the man who was rushing toward it. He may have been late for work, but fate kept him outside. As the race begins, the car swerves unpredictably across the track. Moments later, white smoke pours from its engine before it crashes violently into the barrier. The car speeds down the road, swaying slightly from side to side. Suddenly, it loses control and slams hard into a fence, sending debris flying in all directions. Two cars enter the intersection at the same time, a split-second mistake, and they collide in the middle of the crossing. At the intersection, one car begins a careful turn, but another, speeding straight through, crashes into it, the quiet street erupting in the sound of impact. The plane glides smoothly across the sky until something suddenly goes wrong. Losing control, it plummets toward the ground and explodes on impact. At a busy intersection, two cars collide in a sudden crash. Moments later, at the very same spot, an SUV loses control and slams into a pole. The car glides over a patch of ice, its tires losing all grip. A moment later, it spins across the center line and collides head-on with an oncoming vehicle. A driver moves to overtake, pulling into the next lane without checking ahead. But another car is already there, and the two collide in an instant. The car misjudges the distance and lightly bumps into a motorcycle slowing ahead. Fortunately, the rider keeps his balance and no one is hurt. A small delivery truck drives calmly along the busy road. Moments later, it erupts in a sudden explosion, turning the ordinary commute into chaos. Two cars approach the intersection from opposite directions. What seems like a routine turn turns into chaos as they collide head-on in a split second. A car crashes into the vehicle ahead, the impact jolting it off course. Moments later, it slams into a roadside pole, coming to a sudden stop. A car backs out of a parking spot but drifts off course. It scrapes along the sidewalk fence, bending metal with each jolt. Three motorcyclists wait at a red light, chatting and inspecting a friend's bike. One jokingly twists the throttle, and in an instant, the motorcycle lurches forward, flipping over with its startled rider. The car skids helplessly across the icy surface. It slams into the fence, splintering wood and metal on impact. A truck rumbles down the road when suddenly flames burst from its frame. Within seconds, the vehicle is engulfed in fire, forcing the driver to stop and escape. Losing control on the ice, the truck slides off the road and barrels toward the sidewalk. In seconds, it crashes straight into a city storefront, shattering glass and scattering debris everywhere.
Stuwa. Rondo jest jego, nie?
Patrz, dzwon,
Patrz!
dzwon.
At a snowy intersection, two cars approach the crossing. One fails to brake in time and slides straight into the other, causing a cold, crunching collision. The bus swerves uncontrollably as the driver fights to regain control. Moments later, it smashes into the roadside barrier with a shuddering impact. Sparks flicker quietly along the ceiling wires. Moments later, the electrical system bursts into flames, spreading fire across the ceiling panels. Security footage shows an ordinary shift at the factory. Without warning, a fierce blaze erupts, consuming the building in a matter of moments. A bus fails to notice the car ahead and crashes straight into it. Trapped between two buses, the small vehicle is crushed in a frightening sandwich of metal and glass. 4 motorcyclists ride in a line, slowing as they approach traffic. But the last rider can't brake in time. One crash triggers another, and all 4 tumble to the ground like dominoes. A man and a child step onto the crosswalk, unaware of a speeding car approaching. In a split second, the man reacts, grabbing the child and leaping to safety just before impact. A car tows another vehicle on a trailer down the highway. Suddenly, the trailer starts swaying wildly, and within seconds, it flips over, dragging both the car and its driver into a violent rollover. The plane wobbles in the sky, struggling to maintain its course. Moments later, it plunges to the ground, sending a massive cloud of smoke billowing into the air. A massive truck barrels down the road, unable to slow in time. It plows into a small car ahead, the difference in size making the collision devastating. A small car loses control and swerves toward a man standing beside his vehicle. He jumps just in time, landing on the hood as the car screeches to a halt. A heavy truck drives confidently toward a low bridge, unaware of the danger ahead. In an instant, the top slams into the structure, tearing through metal and causing the bridge to partially collapse. Losing control on the slippery road, the car slides into the opposite lane. A moment later, it crashes into an oncoming vehicle with brutal force. An SUV speeds along the shoulder, kicking up dust as it goes. Suddenly, a fence appears ahead. The vehicle slams into it and bounces into the air from the impact. A speeding car rushes down the highway, closing in fast. In an instant, it slams into the back of a moving truck with a deafening crash. At a snowy intersection, one car speeds through without slowing down. In an instant, it slams into another vehicle, the crash echoing across the frozen streets. The driver pulls over after hearing strange noises from his car. When he opens the hood, smoke begins to pour out, thickening rapidly as the engine overheats. Two cars approach the intersection from opposite sides. In a split second of misjudgment, they collide, scattering debris across the road. A truck loses traction on the icy road, spinning like a carousel. After several turns, it slides straight into a parked car with a heavy impact. A normal day on the road turns chaotic in an instant as two cars collide. One of them bursts into flames, while shocked drivers rush to help from a safe distance. As the car speeds down the road, a sudden blast rips through the front. The bumper flies off completely, scattering debris across the pavement. A truck loaded with bricks was driving in the opposite lane when one flew off and smashed into a car's windshield. Luckily, the driver escaped with just a scare. An SUV suddenly changes lanes without signaling. The driver behind swerves to avoid it and ends up crashing straight into a roadside pole. The driver loses control as the car skids across the wet road. In an instant, it slams into a traffic light, bringing the chaos to a halt. Two cars end up in a bizarre accident, one perched on top of the other's hood. When the lower car reverses, the one above crashes down with a loud thud. A police car speeds through with its lights flashing. Suddenly, it skids on the slick road and crashes hard into the roadside fence. The driver attempted to overtake in the oncoming lane, but misjudged the distance, causing a serious crash, a reminder to stay alert on the road. A truck hauling timber takes a sharp turn too fast. The trailer sways, and in moments, logs spill across the road in a chaotic shower of debris. A van tries to cross the railway just as the barriers come down, trapping it on the tracks. With nowhere to go, the driver can only wait until a speeding train slams into the rear of the vehicle. A speeding car rushes into an intersection, unable to stop in time. It bursts through the road's edge and skids out onto an open field. A small car pulls out to make a turn, unaware of a speeding truck approaching. The icy road leaves the truck no chance to stop, and in moments, it crashes into the helpless vehicle. The car skids across the icy road, tires spinning helplessly. A moment later, it slams into a roadside pole with a violent jolt. At a busy intersection, a driver fails to brake in time and crashes into the car ahead. The impact flips the vehicle over, sending it rolling violently across the pavement. At an intersection, a small patch of dirt and a fallen tree lie in the middle of the road. A speeding car hits them head-on, launching into the air before crashing back down with a thunderous impact. The small car skids out of control on the slippery road. It slides straight into a parked truck, the impact echoing through the quiet street. The video shows a single curb where vehicles of all kinds keep crashing: cars, bikes, even scooters. It's as if this spot on the road is cursed, claiming one driver after another. transport truck carrying several cars loses balance on the road. In moments, it tips over, sending the loaded vehicles tumbling across the asphalt.
Samochód zjechał. O Boże!
A driver reverses to make a turn, unaware of the steep drop behind. Misjudging the distance, the car slips backward and plunges straight into the ravine. The truck's brakes fail, and it flies off the road, falling down the stairs. For a moment, the Kamaz hangs in the air, almost flipping over, before hitting the ground and continuing its crazy drive. The car loses traction on the icy road as it approaches the intersection. Sliding out of control, it crashes hard into the side of another vehicle, crossing the lane. At a crowded intersection, a van and a small car cross paths at the wrong moment. The impact is sudden, sending both vehicles spinning across the road. A man steps onto the road, unaware of the danger ahead. The speeding truck veers off to avoid him, but the shoulder gives way, sending the massive vehicle plunging into the river below. Ignoring the red light, the driver speeds ahead, certain he'll make it through. A split second later, another car slams into his side. A brutal reminder that haste on the road can cost dearly. A car suddenly veers off the road and jumps onto the sidewalk. It crashes into a wall, narrowly missing a person lying just a few feet away. The driver drifts off behind the wheel, the car slowly crossing the center line. When he wakes, it's too late. A truck is coming straight toward him, and the crash is inevitable. The truck driver fails to notice that his vehicle has rolled under a fence. As he presses the gas, the truck strains against the metal until the rear wheels lift off the ground, trapped by the barrier behind. The driver dozes off for just a moment. That moment is enough. The car slams into a truck's rear wheel and flips over violently. A car speeds down the highway when suddenly a wheel breaks loose. It bounces down the lane and smashes into the windshield of the vehicle behind. Two cars collide at a busy intersection, scattering debris across the road. Later that same day, another crash happens in the exact same spot, a crossroads that seems truly cursed. The small car slips on the icy road, spinning helplessly toward the crossing. A moment later, it slams into the side of another vehicle, the quiet intersection erupting in chaos. The plane descends unevenly, struggling to regain balance. Then, in a devastating moment, it crashes straight into the ground with overwhelming force. At the intersection, a driver ran a red light and slammed into a turning car at full speed, then fled the scene right after the crash. The camera captures a shocking sight, a bus engulfed in massive flames. Thick smoke billows upward as the fire consumes the vehicle within moments. On a quiet village road, a driver loses control. The car veers off course and slams straight into a utility pole. Losing control, the small car veers onto the shoulder. In seconds, it crashes into a passing truck, the impact echoing across the road. At a busy intersection, two cars move toward the same green light. Neither slows down, and their paths meet in a sharp, sudden crash. An SUV speeds out of control and crashes straight into a police station. Within seconds, officers rush out, and the stunned driver is immediately arrested. The driver suddenly swerves into the next lane without warning. The car behind crashes into its side, sending the vehicle flipping over with a loud crash. Attempting to overtake on an icy road, the driver loses control as the tires skid sideways. Within moments, the car drifts into oncoming traffic, and disaster becomes inevitable. The small car loses traction on the icy road, swerving wildly from side to side. A heartbeat later, it slides into oncoming traffic, colliding head-on with another vehicle. Two vehicles meet in the middle of a busy intersection. A brief moment of miscalculation ends in a sudden, violent crash. A truck's tire suddenly explodes, the sound echoing across the road. Losing control, it veers into the next lane and crashes into a passing car. On the roadside, a car burns fiercely, flames consuming its frame. The heat distorts the air as smoke rises into the cold sky, a haunting sight of destruction. Crazy crashes, epic saves. Don't blink. Like and subscribe for more jaw-dropping moments.